Welcome to Fix It Home Improvement, covering projects that every homeowner should know and great products for home and garden.
Hi, I'm JC, and this is where we share weekly home improvement tips. I'm here with my co-host, Cindy.
Hello, JC.
Hi, Cindy. Today we're going to be talking about kitchen sinks, and we'd like to thank Franklin Luke for liking and sharing the podcast. In the 1800s in the U.S., you would have a small table with a pitcher and bowl, and that's how you would wash your hands. And then in the kitchen, dirty dishes and pans were scrubbed with either ashes or sand, and then you would rinse this into a large bowl, and that dirty water you would take outside to the garden or give it to the farm animals. In the 1890s, porcelain enameling was developed for cast iron, and cast iron sinks were very popular in the 1920s. So the first kitchen sinks were all freestanding, so you either had a single or a double bowl that had legs on it, or it'd be a trough style that was hanging on the wall.
That's interesting.
If you're thinking about purchasing a kitchen sink, the most popular material is stainless steel, and it comes in a variety of grades or gauges. So usually 18 to 23 gauge, and the lower the number, the thicker the steel is. And the thicker your stainless steel is, you're going to have less noise from running water hitting it when you're dropping utensils or washing your dishes. You can also get sound-absorbing pads underneath the sink, or they spray on an insulating coating. And out of all the reviews I saw, the sinks with these pads that are stuck to the bottom were rated the highest as far as absorbing sound. And then the thicker the steel, and if you get a brushed or satin finish, it's going to resist and hide water spots and scratches much better.
Right.
From a few of the sites, all of the grades really performed well. Inexpensive thin gauge up to the thicker gauge, there wasn't a big difference as far as performance. And stainless steel is going to be less expensive than other types of materials. It's very durable, easy to clean, and it's resistant to heat. So if you're putting hot pans in there, you don't have to worry about it. And now they say it's much more popular with all of the stainless steel appliances that people are putting in their homes. You can get enamel-coated sinks, and this is cast iron or steel covered with porcelain enamel. Porcelain enamel is a form of melted glass, and they fuse this to the metal, so it's going to keep it from corroding. And it's one of the first types of kitchen sinks, very durable, it's stain resistant, it's heat resistant, lasts for decades. A lot of the real old houses that I purchased when I was investing in real estate had these old porcelain enamel sinks, and a lot of them looked great, and some of them, they would have little chips where people dropped a pot or pan, and then you can touch it up with, they have touch-up kits for it, which is nice. They're very heavy, though, so some cabinets are going to need reinforcement to support the weight. Because some of these can be over 100 pounds.
Wow.
So it can be difficult to install yourself. It comes in a wide variety of colors, from very glossy to a matte finish. And most manufacturers recommend that you use some type of sink grid or a mat to protect the inside finish.
I always wondered what those were for.
Fireclay sinks are ceramic clay that's shaped and baked, and then they fuse a porcelain enamel coating on top of it. So this is very durable. It's stain and heat resistant. So it's really like an enamel cast iron sink. It's just clay underneath. So very popular in these farmhouse style sinks.
Interesting.
You can get acrylic. So this is molded plastic. It's usually reinforced with fiberglass. It's easy to clean. They're impact resistant, stain resistant. Small scratches, they can be sanded or polished out. This is lighter than cast iron or fire clay, but it doesn't stand up to hot pots or pans or petroleum-based products.
Wow.
So you can't take a hot pot and toss it into an acrylic sink. Then if you've got, you're doing a bunch of projects where you are using paint brushes with oil-based paint, and let's say you're trying to clean your brushes with solvents, or if you're working with anything with petroleum-based products, you can't clean them in your sink.
That's a bummer.
And because of the acrylic kind of moving a little bit, some of the complaints I saw were garbage disposals. They slowly work loose over time.
A garbage disposal?
Yeah.
That's a drag.
With solid surface sinks, they can be a wide range of materials. So it's important you're looking at the description, the features. Look at the warranty, too, because what's wild is some require the dealer to install it.
That's
Otherwise, you void your warranty. The solid surface can either be acrylic or the same type of material they use in countertops. And what's nice is the color goes all the way through, so it's going to obscure small scratches.
Oh, that's good.
A lot of these will come with a kit that repairs nicks, comes in a wide range of colors. You can get textures with solid surface, which is wild. Most of them are very scrubbable and stain resistant, but the problem is they're usually not resistant to hot pots and pans, so you can't go from the stove to the sink. With composite sinks, it's very similar to solid surface. It can be a wide range of materials depending on the manufacturer, but most companies are either going to have granite or quartz composite. So they crush granite or quartz, they mix it with a resin, and they mold this and they shape it. Usually get about 70 to 80% stone to give it its durability. It's resistant to heat, to stains, to scratches, and you don't have to seal it like you would like a natural stone surface.
Interesting.
Depending on the composite, it can be damaged by hot pots and pans because you're actually melting the resin that holds it together. So you need to check the heat resistance on the label. Some can tolerate up to 500 degrees Fahrenheit. And what's interesting about these composites, you can either get it smooth or rough, depending on the look you want. Granite composite sinks are considered some of the most durable sinks that you can buy. And they come in a range of natural colors, usually kind of dark in color. Natural stone sinks are usually in the farmhouse style, so where you see the front of the sink. And most of these are made out of soapstone.
Interesting.
So the front can be natural, and it can even be rough, or they polish it. Sometimes they carve it. So soapstone feels soft to the touch, but it's actually very dense. It's heat, scratch, stain resistant, and they actually recommend that you oil this to maintain its color. Over time, though, that oil will slightly darken the color, so you have to be aware of that. And it's composed primarily of talc. Isn't that wild?
That is.
So you can get granite or marble, and if you get those stones, they should be sealed to prevent stains. And again, these are very heavy. You need a special cabinet with this and support. You know what's wild about soapstone?
No.
The outer layers of Christ the Redeemer sculpture, so in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, that's soapstone.
Really?
Interesting, huh? They take soapstone cubes and they freeze them in the freezer, and then you put them in your drinks, and it cools off your drink without diluting it.
That's strange. Very, very strange.
Copper sinks, very durable. They're not going to rust or tarnish. They're heat resistant. They have a very unique look. And it takes on a patina over time.
What does that mean?
So this is a thin layer that forms on copper. It usually has a slightly green hue. And with copper, you don't want to use any abrasive cleaners, pads. Some blends of copper actually have antimicrobial qualities, and they're going to have an EPA label if they're antimicrobial. So there's been a lot of research with scientists, and they still don't know exactly all the mechanisms why this works. But they're trying to find the right copper alloy that's going to, do the best job. One study showed that 99.9% of E. coli was killed in 1 to 2 hours with a couple of types of copper alloys.
That's interesting.
Versus stainless steel, where E. coli lasted for weeks.
Ugh.
Wild, huh?
Yes. Once you pick the material that you like, you need to pick the type of bowl that you want.
So you can get a single bowl, and you can get this from very small to usually around 33 inches on the big size. And a single bowl is really good if you have large pots and pans, cookie sheets that you want to soak, if you're used to soaking dishes, and then primarily using a dishwasher. It's really nice for small kitchens because you can get them fairly small. And then what's interesting is a lot of people who have a larger kitchen, they'll have an additional single bowl just for soaking. So they'll have a regular sink plus a single bowl.
Wow, that's fancy. And you must have a huge kitchen.
Yeah, but the downside on a single bowl is it's usually more time consuming to wash and to rinse.
Right, because where do you do that at?
Right. You're laying a lot on the countertop. The most popular is the double bowl. So usually from, fairly small up to 48 inches wide. So you have one side where you're washing the dishes, one side where you're rinsing. There's less room, though, to soak large pots and pans. Right. And so what you can get is, rather than a 50-50 double bowl, so both sides are the same size, you can get one side larger for soaking big pots and then scraping into the small one or rinsing in the small side. So you can either get a 60-40 or a 70-30, and that's referring to the relative size. Right. And then usually the garbage disposer goes on the small side. So you're soaking in the large side, and then you're scraping and using the garbage disposal on the small side.
It just doesn't make any sense to me. The small bowl does not make any sense to me.
As far as?
I don't understand its function.
Well, rather than a 50-50 where you've
Which makes sense.
But they say that it's more difficult to get larger pots. So if you like the double bowl for washing and rinsing.
Right.
But you've got large pots. Now you go to a 70-30, so you can soak and get your pots in that 70
Right.
side. And then, you don't need as much room. And again, you'll probably use your rack on the countertop
Well, you'd have to.
to dry.
Because otherwise, what are you going to do? Put your rack in the side that you're soaking?
All right. And what's nice about these styles is they're usually rectangular or staggered, so they can fit into a wide range of counters. And you can also get these in corner sinks, so they fan out in a
Right.
corner to conserve space. So that's a real nice design. And then, Cindy, you'll like this, there's triple bowls.
Yeah,
so you've got a third tiny area where you can use this for prep, and most people suggest putting your garbage disposal
So what is
in
it, like a 50, 40, 10?
Yeah, there is a variety of sizes, and with
Which
these,
this does not make sense to me at all.
there were a lot of complaints online. A lot of people love this, and then there were a lot of people that complained
Until you
about
think
it.
about it, because what are you doing with that small thing?
They use it primarily for prep. So I saw a lot of people, what they did was they would have a grate on the bottom, and they would be rinsing off their vegetables and things in that center, and then using the other two sides for soaking and washing, also for scraping off into that center area. So you're soaking and washing on one side, rinsing on the other side, and then you're scraping off your plates and using your garbage disposal in the middle.
So
and
you're putting your garbage disposal in the middle?
in the center, yes. That's what most
The
manufacturers...
small bowl.
Correct.
The smallest bowl of all time.
Right, because that's where you're scraping into.
That doesn't make any sense to me.
And these go very wide, so some of these triple bowls can go up to 60 inches wide, so you got to make sure that you're,
Right.
again, matching these to the size of your base cabinet. And then with these, a lot of the pros consider this the most flexible for prep and for cleanup for a large kitchen.
Yeah, but now it's like a big process to have to do dishes.
You
Like,
have a
which
lot of
bowl do I
parties.
put it in?
Another unique sink is the Farmhouse Sink. So it's either called an apron sink or a vault style. So this has the exposed face of the sink, so the side of the sink in the front you can
Right.
see. And so it replaces that false drawer in the front of your cabinet,
Right.
or that front section. So you are going to need a special cabinet, or you need to cut out the countertop and
'cause,
the
like,
cabinet to fit.
And if you think about like a farmhouse kitchen, a country kitchen where
Right.
they have like the sink, and then like underneath they have like the little curtains that
Right.
block the under sink stuff. That's
Yeah.
exactly what it looks like.
Exactly. And with this, you're going to need support inside the cabinet. So either buy something unique, or you're going to have to get these accessories for this. And you want to make sure you're matching to the size of the cabinet. And
Because when I first saw these, I'm like, I don't know if I like this. But then, like, thinking about it, it's like when you are doing dishes and, water is spilling over the side
Right.
onto the cabinet. I mean, you're really protecting.
True.
You're
Exactly.
out the countertop, too, because a lot of times that soaks up all that water.
Right, yeah, if it rolls underneath the countertop and you've got almost that pressed board
Right.
underneath the laminate. What's interesting about these, too, because they come out, a lot of the styles will come out farther than the counter also. And because they're deeper, shorter people can get up to it. And they say a lot of shorter people really like these because they can get in there
Right.
and clean.
So I would like this.
You would love it.
Are they one bowl or two bowls?
You can get them in both styles.
Can you get them in three bowls?
I don't know whether I saw that. I didn't see that. So go online and check. There's a couple of ways you can mount your sink to your countertop. So you have a top mount sink. So it's either called a drop-in or self-rimming. And you have this rim that goes all around the sink. It's going to hold it in place. So this is grabbing, this top lip is just setting in the hole on the countertop, and it's just resting right on top of it. Very easy to install. So if you're replacing an existing drop-in, you take the old one out, you're probably going to have clips underneath. You might either have plumber's putty or silicone or caulk underneath this. You take off the clips, pry it loose, you pop it out, you get a new sink that's the same size. You just drop it straight down and you're done. So it's really easy to do yourself. It's going to support a lot of weight, comes in a wide variety of sizes and shapes and depths. And even in, let's say you have a standard rectangular opening, the shape of the bowls can really be unique inside that. So you can have some great looking bowl shapes inside that rectangular frame. And you can get it, in general, 6 to 12 inches deep. Most manufacturers, 8-inch deep is probably the average size sink. And then the downside of the top mount sinks is debris can build up under the lip of the sink, and it can be difficult to wipe your countertop. If you're trying to wipe your countertop into the sink, it can get caught on that lip. You can get an Undermount Sink. So this is installed from underneath the counter. There's no rim on top of the counter, so it just makes a clean, modern look. Very easy to wipe stuff off the counter into the sink.
Right.
The problem with this is it's more complex to put on. You got to make sure that you've got a countertop that's going to accept this.
So what do you mean?
So if you had just a regular old...
Formica?
A laminate countertop, and it has particle board underneath. If you put an undermount sink, you would see the particle board.
Yeah.
So you've got to have a countertop that's going to accept an undermount, and then you need to be aware that in a lot of these you have to drill holes for clips. So it can really be a process. Some of them you need extra support, you need straps.
Right. Well, we watched a lot of videos on this because we've never put one of these in.
Yeah, primarily I've always done just top mount in all my projects.
So, like, some people were just saying use just silicone on it. But, I mean, when you think about a sink and you think about, because we
carrying
read,
weight.
Right, that it could be up to 100 pounds.
Yeah, you fill your bowls with water and your dishes and pots. Yeah, absolutely.
And so that would scare me.
Right. So you're using silicones, you're using epoxy, they've got straps and clips. Yeah, it's a process. And you can have a flush mount, so you've got your sink and your countertop that are completely flush as the edge goes straight down. You have a positive reveal where you're showing the rim all the way around, so as you're looking down into it, you can see the lip. It creates a nice reveal. Or you have a negative reveal where it's hidden, so no debris or anything can get built up between the countertop and the sink. One thing I saw was if you're doing an undermount, I saw this product called Hercules sink harness. So this connects to the cabinets underneath, and you tighten the strapping, and it was rated very high, and looks like it does a very nice job. I think it helps hold everything in place. Right. If you're thinking about an undermount sink.
Because even if you just have clips like on the side that you have to drill, into your.
Well, like you say, it's kind of scary.
Yeah.
It's just kind of floating there.
Where this is like the wires underneath the sink, right?
Right, yeah, exactly. So it's grabbing the wires on the cabinet on both sides, and then you tighten it up, and it supports that weight.
So if you've never installed one of these sinks, make sure you watch the videos on how to do it, or maybe hire somebody.
Right. Watch them the first time. Like I used to do. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you're spending money for a new countertop, you're spending money for a new sink, I mean, you're probably...
Well, especially if you have stone. I would hate to screw that up.
I can't even imagine. I would freak out.
Well, what's crazy is like silicone. If you use regular... so you've got acetoxy silicone and you've got neutral cure silicone. So acetoxy, this releases an acetic acid while it's curing. So you get that vinegar smell.
Right.
And you will actually discolor a lot of stone products. And if you're...
So this is the sink, your countertop. I mean...
Right. Yeah, because silicone, fantastic.
Right.
But depending on the type of silicone, you can damage what you just bought.
Right.
Same thing with copper sinks. You don't want to use acetoxy silicone. You'd want to use this neutral cure. If you're planning on changing your countertop and your sink, you can get integral sinks.
So what does that mean?
So this is the countertop and the sink are made out of the same material, and then they fuse it together for you. So very easy to clean. It's one whole unit. So you can kind of pick your style, and then they put it together for you, and you just drop the whole thing on top of your cabinets.
So kind of like a bathroom sink with the vanity?
Right, exactly. Yeah, that same kind of thought process. You can also get tile-in sinks. So these are specially designed if you plan on having a tile countertop, and the edges are squared off, and it's designed to fit exactly flush with the tile.
That's interesting.
And then when you're thinking about sinks, you got to think about your faucets, how many holes you want in your sink, if you're going to have instant hot water, water purification, where you're going to have a dispenser on top, soap dispensers. So, before you run out and grab it, think about the overall project.
Well, the cabinet, too, because if you have all this stuff underneath it.
Right, absolutely. And you need certain sinks, and depending on how wide they are and how deep they are, they need a specific cabinet size. Also, when you're looking for a sink, you want to look for approval by some of these organizations. So if it says UPC on the label or the box, that's the Uniform Plumbing Code. It's up to their standard. ANSI is the American National Standards Institute. IAPMO. This is the International Association of Plumbing and Mechanical Officials, and this is the group that develops the standards and codes for plumbing.
Interesting.
And then CSA is the Canadian Standards Association, and they're going to guarantee that you're protected against lead and all these other hazards that you can have with plumbing supplies.
Right. What are some top-rated sinks?
So a lot of the reviews love this Kraus, Kraus, Ruvati, Ruvati. Kohler was rated very high. Zune, it's Zuhne, and the E has 2 dots over the top of it.
Oh, look fancy.
American Standard, Moen were rated very high. Vigo, Vigo, for their Farmhouse Sinks, that whole group of their line was rated very high. Hauser, Houzer, and Swanstone were all rated very high. And one that really caught my eye was this Kohler Prolific Sink. So it has 3 ledges inside the sink, and you can attach, they have a bamboo cutting board that comes with it and slides back and forth.
This to me. It's cool.
It has a colander that slides back and forth, a wash bin, it has graded racks, and you can mix and match these so it really creates like a workstation.
See, this makes sense to me.
Yeah, it's cool. It really looks cool. So you really need to go online because if you go to a home center and just see what they have, that's
just a portion of
what it's fairly limited. It is amazing, some of these styles online, and it really makes it convenient when you're working in the kitchen. A lot of these need the bigger base cabinets, so again, make sure that you're looking at the dimensions.
Do you have anything else to add?
I would say if you're thinking about changing a sink, you've got to be thinking about your countertop, your cabinets, the opening size, the shape. You need that all to match the sink.
I think also, how long do you plan on staying in your house?
Right.
Because are you going to be moving in a couple of years? Because how much money are you going to spend on your countertops, your sinks? Because it's a wide range of prices here.
Yeah. Some of these are...
And you're not going to really regain that if you're spending a ton of money.
Exactly.
So, if you plan on staying there for 20 years...
That's what's nice about these stainless steel sinks. They have a nice look, and especially if you're remodeling and putting in stainless steel appliances, you can get into it very inexpensive.
Right.
It's quality. You can throw hot pots and pans. It's very versatile.
Right.
And you're not spending a lot of money. Like you say, you're not going to recoup if you plan on selling in a couple of years. And then make sure you're thinking about it. If you love the style of an undermount and it looks hip, which I think it looks great, but your countertop may not be able to accept that or easily. Top mount is the easiest to replace, if you're thinking about it. And then also your faucet, your accessories, how many holes do you want in your sink?
Interesting. My cousin just redid his kitchen, and he got the quartz countertop and the Undermount sink, but they had he had it professionally installed the countertop because they had to drill a hole through his brand new countertop for his faucet. And then we did a video on installing that faucet, and it was such a tight fit to get it through that hole.
Faucet and garbage disposal, and we had to wait till it fully cured. So I believe they used an epoxy to hold this in place, and you can't rush that, or now you're pulling it free.
Yeah.
So you definitely need
your new garbage disposal. You can't use your sink.
Yeah. So a lot to think about when you're buying a sink.
Who knew? Let's wrap this up.
Almost done with book 3.
Just have to finish writing it.
So keep that on your radar. We're going to have it free for a few days when we launch it. You can subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, the Spotify mobile app, and the Google Play Music mobile app.
If you enjoyed it, please leave us a review.
You can check out our home improvement videos on our YouTube channel, Fix It Home Improvement.
And you can subscribe to that as well.
You can email us at fixitpodcast@gmail.com.
Thank you for listening.
Talk to you next week.